Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Reload Podcast. Along with Nathan Gilsleider and Marshall Scott, I'm back from vacation or a trip, I guess. I don't know that you can call it a vacation whenever you bring your kids to Cancun, but we had a great time ish. There were definitely some good moments. There were definitely some rough moments, but we made it. We're back. Uh, Layover in Austin, 6 hours long, kind of brutal, but we're on the other side of it now. So I will say one unique experience about that was I was in Mexico at the time Mexico played South Africa at the start of the World Cup, and gotta be honest, it was pretty lit. You can imagine.
Yeah, my favorite social media thing right now is foreigners coming to America and sort of seeing that. So that you sort of got the inverse of that, in that you went to Mexico where the World Cup also was, but you sort of
It's true.
got to see them experience it.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, are they just doing it for engagement farming?
I think some of that has turned into it. I think it started pure, and like I'm sure everybody who's on Twitter is familiar with Freddie at this point. I liked the beginning, and I still like Freddie's journey, but I sort of wish that it hadn't gotten somewhat corporate, where like people are like, "Hey, you should come here, and I'll show you a good time." I sort of liked the rawness of it at the beginning, and now you can sort of see that some are maybe leaning into it, but it's still a good time to see like the South Korean fans in Mexico. That was a lot of fun, and then you just like everything that you turn on the news, everything bad is always happening right now. It's sort of just good to see some people appreciate what we maybe take for granted in our everyday lives, like fast food chains, which I personally love.
Great call.
I mean, Freddie's in Oklahoma City, so if anybody wants to go to the Ella Langley concert, I mean, he's there. So no, I think it's cool. Like you said, I think it is a little bit of engagement farming, and I think they're playing it up a little bit. But I honestly do believe there's a decent amount of individuals, because of social media and because the last handful of years under our last two previous presidents have been a lot of turmoil and a lot of negativity about the United States, and I do think that they are surprised. Like, so it's not really like as bad as everybody says it is, and your stadiums are bigger than the biggest stadiums in the world. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think I saw one of them. They were there in Dallas, and they drove by, I don't know, let's just say like McKinney or Frisco High School or something, and it's like literally larger than any stadium. They're like, do you guys actually pack this out? Like, do people actually watch? There are enough people to watch a high school game? And it's like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? So I do enjoy that part of it. But the World Cup is a special thing. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. I was at the Royals game last Friday when the U.S. played, but whenever I got home on Saturday, I had recorded and watched it. It was obviously electric, but I feel like most of the games have been pretty fun. The one that just ended looked like it was going 0-0. Ghana scores right at the end there. The stars are showing out. Cristiano didn't have a good day, but Messi goes off for the hat trick. So it's been a fun World Cup. I think there's a little bit of a soccer spark happening here. We'll see how long it lasts.
England played today, so I'm guessing that this is a team loaded with Premier League guys. Like, this is the All-Star Premier
Harry
League.
Kane with 2 goals.
Nice. Harry Kane had a good day.
Former Spurs. So do you guys have like a pick of who you think is going to win outside of our biases with the USA?
Yeah, France is pretty good.
Yeah, well, France is outrageous. I'd probably say, if outside of the U.S., like, who are my betting favorites? I thought Netherlands looked pretty phenomenal, and France is just absolutely loaded. It's truly insane what they can do. Like, they look like they walked through the first half against a very good team. The second half was like Mbappe's like, all right, I'll stretch out, bang bang. There's 2 goals. It's like, wow, all right, yep, they're that good.
I got entered into a friend's World Cup league bracket, whatever. I have no idea about these teams. So I found out France, obviously, at this point now. I'm like, well, I probably should have picked those guys, but I went with Portugal. They played Democratic Republic of Congo today. They tied 1-1. DRC with their first ever World Cup goal, and it happened to be against Portugal. So we'll see how all that plays out. How long does this last? Do we have an idea of kind of?
It's like July 19th or something is the final. This is
Yeah,
going to be going on for a while.
It's from start to finish. It's just about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So the first round, it's around a week to 6 days between each game, and then it kind of starts to pick it up a little bit as you get into knockout and things of that nature. But yeah, United States looked phenomenal. If they can come out,
Yeah.
I really don't care about the beauty points, right? Let's just go ahead and get the 3 points. If they can get 3 points this next match, they're looking at winning their group, which haven't done in a while, and really sets themselves up well. So
That'd be
it's
awesome.
fun times.
I remember back in, it must have been 2014, because I was summer internship, just about to graduate, and during my internship, I made it a point to wear suit and tie every day. And the World Cup was going on, so I had to pick out a red, white, and blue tie. And I ran into, I think it was Ann Hargis at the time. So I was walking up to her, talking about some kind of initiative we were doing with the Chief Wellness Officer program. And then I was like, normally I'm wearing orange, not red, but it's USA World Cup. I got to. So always mindful of stuff like that. It's fun. Good times. Any other World Cup thoughts before we move on?
I think the United States team is so soccer sort of has a rep in America of like, oh, there's flopping and you're rolling around on the ground and stuff like that. I think it's sort of fun is that the United States team is sort of like an ish house team. They're sort of like hey, I'm just going to run you to death and I'm going to keep playing. And so I think we've sort of got a, as far as soccer teams go, pretty tough squad that's sort of fun to watch. They got a little bit of don't give a crap about them. I like that.
I like that. Yeah. They're maybe a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. So we've got Pochettino's the coach, right? Coach Poch. We got him looking good. I remember him back in whenever Tottenham made it to whatever their championship was in 2019 or something like that. They ultimately didn't win, but I was like, this guy can coach.
So everybody knows Tottenham didn't win. Tottenham didn't win a championship.
Another championship.
They don't win championships, unfortunately. That's kind of what they do.
But yeah, seems like we got a good coach. He's, I think, Argentinian, whatever. So he's American now. Salute. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's go to something I do know what we're talking about, maybe a little bit more with American football. So got a recruiting class up to 8 commits with the addition of Texas safety Chase Davis, because Chase Clark just flipped to Purdue. We can only have one Chase, obviously. But we're up to 8 now. Marshall, what do we know about this guy?
Yeah, so looking up Chase Davis, it's the classic track star as well. I think he qualified for state in Texas in the 300 hurdles, but he had a sub 11 100 time, really like a 6'6" high jump, like somewhere in the 20s long jump. So another sort of super freak athlete. Plays a traditional safety spot. I liked on his film that like he would use that track speed to get downhill and run full speed into somebody and sort of like upend him. He liked that maneuver quite a bit. So that was fun. I think this guy's probably one of the better guys that they've added so far. I really like Carson White, the quarterback, but I think Chase Davis is just in, watching highlights, which, it is what it is. I'm not, going to these kids' high school and talking to their coach and stuff like that. But I think this is one of the better guys. And I think it's developing into like, I think a pretty, solid little class. It's a little behind still. We've mentioned that the last couple of pods, but I think things are certainly headed in the right direction. They've got a quarterback, 2 receivers, a tight end, 2 offensive linemen now. Used to have 3 before Chase Clark flipped to Purdue, and then 2 safeties. I know that Israel Hammonds, the Choctaw linebacker, the 4-star kid, he's going to announce a college program on Friday night. So I think Oklahoma State's in play there. That would obviously be a really big one. I think he'd by far be like the highest rated guy in the class. So I think things are headed in the right direction. I like what they're doing so far.
Yeah, you're starting to see with this staff like some trends on things that they like, right? And we saw it kind of a little bit in the transfer portal window. Now you're seeing it in recruiting also, right? You brought up Chase Davis, that long, lengthy athlete that, hey, let's refine it a little bit. And then the offensive linemen, they love very large human beings and then see if they can put weight on them, right? We just lost out on an O lineman to OU, and then we just lost this O lineman to Purdue, right? So we're in the mix. We're starting to get in the mix with some of these where you want Oklahoma State to be battling for recruits, right? And you brought up Israel Hammond. who is going to be, he's, pretty highly sought after kid. So that would be a great one if we're able to pull that off. But it does seem like it's a little bit behind, but nothing that we honestly, the Coach Morris, like you said, didn't tell us. They kind of felt that way already. And thank goodness you do have the portal. So if you do get behind in a recruiting class in this cycle or something, you can kind of pick that up. But honestly, I can't even really blame too many commits because it's like, show me at this level. I think it's still kind of some of these kids are waiting to see. And I think that's fair. And so you can sell the hype, you can sell the change, you can sell the new era, and then you need to start seeing it, right? So you go out there, you beat Tulsa, you go out there, you hang tight with Oregon, and then right, and then you start having maybe some OVs, and then that's when things kind of start getting real. So I think they're getting in the right conversations, they're talking to the right people. We obviously money is still a big issue for Oklahoma State when you get into these conversations, but I have trust that they're going to be doing the right thing, and recruiting will get where it needs to as long as the on-field product shows, right? I think that's really what it comes down to.
I agree. Yeah, they're going to have to obviously continue to develop those guys that they've got, establish those relationships, kind of like the old school way, and then reel them in that way. If you're not going to be able to have the unlimited resources like you've got with some of these other programs, then it's probably going to be the case where some of these guys are going to swoop in and maybe grab a top prospect or two at the 11th hour because they can pay twice as much. But hopefully, some of the relational aspect mitigates some of that. So, all right, Marshall, I think you sent out some mailbag type of questions for the members of the chamber. You want to plug that a little bit before we get started on that?
Yeah, we maybe should have mentioned this at the top. Mostly going to be a mailbag episode because there's not a whole lot going on in the Oklahoma State world. So yeah, mentioned as Justin mentioned, send a bit of a back signal out on the chamber. You can subscribe to the chamber for 25% off in the link in the description. But yeah, you guys just it sort of spans a lot of different things. You guys just want to get right into this. Brian from the RR asked the first ones, and he says, discuss the similarities of the outcomes between the Iowa State players gambling and the Texas Tech player gambling. So that's Hunter Deckers, I think, is probably the main one that people think about when they think about Iowa State. That quarterback ended up finishing his career out at the junior college level. Really wasn't an avenue for him to get back and playing. Sort of closer to home, Oklahoma State fans will remember Arlen Bruce. He was at Iowa. He got caught up in that as well. I don't remember the firm details of what he was betting on and stuff like that, but he never played at Oklahoma State. There was even like an Iowa wrestler, I believe it was Nelson Brands, who's related to the Brands. I think he said he betted on like a women's basketball game, and then he had to miss a year for it. So, yeah, in terms of, I guess we should say that Brendan Sorsby is not going to be playing college football this year. Somebody came to their senses finally. Brett Yormark sort of put his foot down. That was sort of the big news of this past weekend that Brett Yormark in the Big 12 sort of pre-filed something, that I guess scared Tech off to the point where Brendan Sorsby is going to be looking at the supplemental draft in the NFL. I think this was the right call. I think everybody thought this was the right call. That Brendan Sorsby wasn't going to play. We took a heck of a way to get to this point. I think that 22-minute video that Tech put out will go down in infamy. I think that's sort of the perfect point of like what is going on here. Is that 22-minute video that Texas Tech put out that changed nobody's mind. And I've been listening to Josh Pate a little bit since, and he just said, like, as soon as that Tech got that ruling, they should have just shut up because nobody was going to be on their side. Nobody was going to enjoy anything that they said, and he's exactly right about that. And then they put out this 22-minute video to try to get people back on their side. It's like that's not the way to do it. Yeah, I think all things considered, I think we got to the right outcome. That Brendan Sorsby's not going to play college football, but we took the scenic route to get here.
Yeah, First off, there really isn't a whole lot of difference between the two outside of the scale of what was going on, and obviously Brendan Sorsby admitted to being on a team while betting on that team. Now we don't know, activity-wise, if he was actually active in some of those bets. I know the one that everyone talks about is the Indiana team where he wasn't playing, but he was betting on the team because it's basically like insider trading at that point. He knows game plans. He knows things that you shouldn't know, and so that's wrong. So from the get-go, this should have never happened. And then I'm still waiting for episode 2 of the Texas Tech video to saying, how they did absolutely nothing wrong and broke no laws, and they were just trying to help a kid out in a tough situation. But it's disheartening as much as anything I've seen, in the last couple of years with college football, how this was handled by all parties. But the Big 12, for the first time in a very long time, came out looking good. They, they finally flexed their muscle. I do think some of it was kind of a little bit of a show with some of these AGs and stuff like that popping in and saying they'd help and whatever else. But regardless, it was pretty fascinating to see for the first time a conference be like, well, 15 of us are on the right. We're on one side of this. You're on another. I don't think Texas Tech isn't alone, as if Ole Miss had this quarterback. I think they would have filed or tried to help or do, I think a lot of schools would have done that. It's just the fact that, like, the way that they acted and how they're just like, well, I can't, I mean, why don't you just sue everybody who's ever bet on anything? And it's like, okay, guys, let's stop this. We talked about this last episode, Marshall, but there really isn't a whole lot of difference, to be honest. It's just the day and age that we're in, that people have found out that they can sue the NCAA and win just about any time they want to. And I honestly think, looking at this now, like, those people you mentioned, if they would have sued the NCAA, they probably would have won, and they probably could have played. So yeah, not a lot of difference, but best outcome is Sorsby not playing, thank goodness. And honestly, like, if you look at it, this kid is getting terrible advice, because he should have just gone to the supplemental draft in the first place. But now you've run all this through social. You've proven yourself to not be an upstanding individual that's taking bad counsel, and your agent's stupid. And then you put Texas Tech. I don't agree with what they did, but you put them in an impossible position. They have, like, do you bail on the kid? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's tough. They can't get their money back. So it really was just extremely poorly handled by all. And I'm really glad that it's somewhat over. And I don't know, Texas Tech can act butthurt, but they were ridiculous.
Yeah, to the Texas Tech fans who aren't watching this podcast, because it's an Oklahoma State podcast, why would you do such a thing? Like, if Cincinnati knew about it, Cincinnati can get in trouble too. That wasn't that wasn't the holdup for anybody. The holdup was that he was betting on games that his team was involved in. So yeah. Justin, what did you think about the whole Sorsby thing? You missed last week, so what were sort of your takeaways from the beach?
You guys covered it all. I mean, everybody's heard pretty much the same thing, I feel like, over and over. I, like, coming out on the other side of it, I'm thinking this is probably the best possible situation for Tech to be in moving forward, because had Sorsby been granted eligibility to play, you could have seen, all kinds of stuff throughout the season, but they would be even more hated, and then, like, the season could be viewed as tainted or whatever the case is. So the fact that they are a good team without him, they'd obviously be a little bit better with him than what they've currently got on their roster at quarterback, but they were good enough to make it to the playoff last year. Like, they're legit. And for that to affect literally everybody else on the team negatively because of something that a transfer coming in had done, and maybe would have continued to do had he not got caught. It's just like, what a great, I don't know, second chance for Texas Tech, I guess. Like, it's just I don't know. It's what a weird thing. It's not like something that, he's busted for performance enhancing drugs or given any kind of major competitive advantage. It's betting, but, like, that's the way we're viewing. Like, you just can't do that. And then the fact that Tech was like, yeah, but I don't know, he's addicted. We're trying to help him out. He probably should play because it's for his best interest to be able to overcome this addiction. It was just a weird situation. But I'm kind of glad it's over. Like, we don't have to talk about it.
Hey, what's up? We just Justin's computer just decided it was going to restart right in the middle of the pod.
Yeah.
So we have we have really no idea where we cut off. So we're going to restart with OSU Grad and Dad's question, which we sort of started discussing. But anyway, so OSU Grad and Dad 85 from the Chamber asks, "I'd like thoughts discussed regarding Holiday's future as head coach, not simply a high-level general feel-good discussion about all the money raised and the great recruiting how great recruiting seems to be. Rather, address the big pink elephant in the middle of the room. Do you believe he is the long-term solution for OSU baseball? Has Weiberg discussed this issue with the Board of Regents or Holiday? Is 2027 a super regional or leave decision moment?" And OSU Grad and Dad mentions he would say yes, but then again, he thought that 2 seasons ago. I think sort of going back to that recent article that Bill Haston wrote that sort of laid out and detailed some of the financial difficulties, discrepancies between Oklahoma State baseball and maybe some of its peers right now, both in terms of scholarships, in terms of money through the rev share model. So I think that just sort of further highlights how behind the 8-ball Holiday and the baseball program sort of are right now. So I've always thought Josh Holiday is a good coach. I think that's somewhat evident in all the Big 12 titles that he won. Does he need to make a super regional? Absolutely. I think that, it's beyond time for Oklahoma State baseball to sort of get back to that. But, with some of those financial discrepancies that we mentioned, you could see why that would be, a difficult task. I think this team, this most previous team, sort of got hot at the right time, dealt with some injuries. This is also probably a good time to mention they've added 3 transfers so far. They got a pitcher out of Utah, Caden Soder, who I thought actually looked pretty good. Morehead State to transfer Aubrey Kearns. He was hitting above 300. I think he was, in his conferences. He was an all-conference type performer. And then just today they got a pitcher out of Wake Forest, Tyler Wood. Sort of if you look directly at his stats, one big number that's going to pop out at you is that he's got a 27 ERA in college. He's just thrown an inning in a third. So like that number is obviously going to be skewed pretty big. Not ideal, but he was a high level recruit, like a top 200 level recruit coming out of Missouri, top 200 nationally. So, I think that was a good step as well. So yeah, I think Holiday is still the guy long-term. I think that, seeing Haston's article on the difficulties that they've had sort of financially only sort of solidifies that more in my head that, okay, he's not, he doesn't have a full, chamber of resources that he's attacking this with. And that team still sort of got hot and was, at least in contention. We all felt like, hey, this team's at least got a puncher's chance to make a super again this year. So that's sort of where I stand. I feel like we've talked about, baseball on Holiday for a while now, going back to the midweek games of March or something like that. So what do you guys think on baseball and sort of if Holiday is the guy long term?
Yeah, I mean, this question was posed obviously not from a Holiday fan, so he's wanting us to say he needs to go, he needs to be out. I think there's so much to that. Number one, if we're looking at it from a grand scheme of things, hiring a non-revenue sport or buying somebody out or doing anything like that is pretty much off the table right now at Oklahoma State. Like, that doesn't even make financial sense. So unless they absolutely tank or something else happens off the field, like, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Number two, I think everybody, including myself a little bit, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was quite as bad as it was. I think everybody got their eyes open a little bit as to really what kind of job he has been doing, and he is recruiting, how well he is recruiting, considering he's not recruiting with money. I mean, quite frankly, unfortunately, we're watching OU probably going to go to the College World Series final.
I just turned it off. I just turned it back to the World Cup game. I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of just everything working for that team, I mean, they more than double our budget for baseball. And I've seen better stadiums, at CYBA, whatever initials you want to put on front field. You know what I'm saying? Like, so clearly it doesn't have anything to do with the field, which I've heard from every OSU fan that because we have a nice ballpark, we should be winning the College World Series every year. I mean, that's just the way it's supposed to work, apparently. But I think Coach Holiday is a fantastic baseball coach. Is he without fallacy? Obviously not. I mean, there's things that we've talked about that we would like to see change. I think everybody would like to see change offensively. There's too much swing and miss, some things of that nature. And as you can already see in the portal, like, I think the kid from Wake Forest has a chance to be extremely good. Like if you look at his metrics, he was committed to Tennessee before their coach became the San Francisco Giants head coach, and then he went to Wake Forest. So, I mean, he's a really, really high level kid, and I think there's a chance there. But you're paying for that chance. You're not paying for the proof. We don't have enough money to pay for the proof right now, which some schools are doing, right? Even in high school. So it's not a very black and white question. I think that he's got more than enough to get us to a super regional and win a super regional. But if you've watched any of the College World Series and you've watched any of the super regionals, we've already talked about all the high level teams that got knocked out before they even got to the supers. And then you look at teams that are in it right now and are going to be in the finals. It looks like it's going to be North Carolina versus OU. I mean, OU looked atrocious in the middle of the season, and then they got hot at the right time, and that's so much of what this is.
Oklahoma State kicked the crap out of OU. In Tulsa, I was there. It was storming.
Yeah, right? And so, I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds, obviously, but I think Coach Holliday is a very good baseball coach, and I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon, if not only for the climate of the athletic department, but for the fact that I think he does a pretty dang good job with what he's given.
I agree, but the question was asked, do you think he's the long-term solution for OSU baseball? And while I believe he is an excellent, phenomenal coach, I don't know what he's doing differently to get us over the hump. So is he the long-term solution for OSU baseball? I mean, at this point in time, he's got to go out and prove it, right? It's kind of like going from 13 scholarships to however many now, but you can almost make the argument, why was it 13 to begin with? Why was he not pushing for that earlier? Did he not care? Was he not trying? Was he not fundraising to get this additional money to come in? There's like questions that I have that obviously I don't know the answer to, but I wonder if somebody from outside the program or another perspective and a newer energy into the program, if that changes things for OSU baseball, because I think that it is important that we have an amazing stadium like O'Brate Stadium, and it should attract top-notch talent. And there's obviously giants that we're up against with the budgets of these SEC teams, but
is that not happening?
He's doing it to a certain point, but obviously the goal is to win regionals, super regionals, get to the World Series. But the drought has just been going on, and it's to answer your question, not really. O'Brate Stadium was open in 2020, 2021. Since then, we haven't done anything to advance to the super regionals. So
you said talent, though. We got more guys in the major leagues right now than Gary Ward had.
So why is the talent not advancing us to the next round? What is Coach Holliday doing as a coach to make sure that we're bringing in the talent, but then we're getting the most out of the talent? Like there's some kind of disconnect where I can understand OSU grad and dad's perspective that he's not the guy, the long-term solution. And in the same way of looking at it was with Gundy, where he was like really consistent, winning at a high level. The recruiting wasn't great, but we were able to bring in talent and we won a lot of games. We were never dropping off, obviously until the very end, but it's like, do you want to see that happen with Josh Holliday? Do you want him to, just completely fall off? It's just kind of like where's the fight? What am I going to see that's different moving forward to prove that he's the guy moving forward? And I feel like that's a fair question.
I think at this point I'm cool with anybody who is sort of ready to see if the grass is greener on baseball, but I just personally am not there. I think Holliday's a good coach. You mentioned the scholarships, and I brought up the scholarships earlier. Steve Lutz is working with 13 scholarships, whereas he could technically have 15 right now, and he said that they're still just getting 13, but that they're allowed to essentially raise the money outside of that. So that sort of goes to the fundraising question. How can Oklahoma State get to this point that they can get more money? But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you find an OSU donor out there, do you want that donor to donate to baseball? Do you want that donor to donate to basketball, to football, to the women's basketball team that we got a question about coming up? So I don't know.
But Marshall, here's the thing. It's like Cecil O'Brate could have donated a lot of money to football, and we could have been better at football for that. But he decided like that was his path. He's going to do it for baseball. Like there are guys like that out there, right?
I think that was Holder just saying like, hey,
well, that was also pre-NIL.
Yeah, that was too.
I understand that's fair. That's fair pushback. But at the same time, you can't tell me that there are not like big time OSU fans out there that are massive donors that would be able to help out with this.
So I would highly suggest anybody that wants to continue to learn a little bit more about what's going on to go to O State Daily's YouTube page and listen to his interviews that he's had with Tom Holliday, which you obviously are going to have to watch it through a bit of an orange lens. But there is a dose of reality to what he's been dealing with. And it's not for lack of, and I know for a fact, it's not for lack of asking, and it's not for lack of effort. And Josh Holliday is going to be the last person that's ever going to complain about lack of anything. The fact of the matter is that our university is struggling athletically in this new environment, and everything they have is going towards football to make it right, because that's what the university is running on. And now, if you want to say Coach Holliday's not the long-term answer, okay, whatever, that's fine. He's also been doing it for a long time, so I don't know what you mean by long-term. If you want to say fresh, we need a fresh perspective, that's great. Who are you going to get in here to have the bottom half resources in a third or fourth level conference in college baseball with the expectations of a blue blood baseball program that they don't match? They don't match. Everybody thinks it's 1985. It's not. So if you want to have a dose of reality and say we need a new fresh voice, that's fine. I don't think that's what he's saying here. I think what he's saying here is he's tired of Josh Holliday because we're not winning like we did in the Big 8. It's different. It's not the same thing anymore. We don't get our pick of the litter. We just don't. And people have not come to grips with that with college baseball at Oklahoma State yet. And to your point, until somebody steps up and says, I want this only to go to baseball, everything is going to football. And it should.
I guess, and I'm coming at it from like, you mentioned we got a lot of guys that are in the league. It's like these guys have deep pockets. And I feel like they should have some pride in the university, would want to see their team succeed. So maybe donate a little bit to the NIL area.
Maybe whenever they get off of their
something like, I mean, are we exploring that avenue at all? Do we have the relational aspects? I mean, how much money has Matt Holliday made? I mean, Jackson Holliday didn't play here, but Ethan Holliday, they didn't play here, but they're close enough tied to the program where they're not going to miss $1 million or whatever. So I'm throwing some stuff out there, but
you're spending.
I'm sure none of it's going to stick.
I dig that. So sort of a similar question next. Glory Cowboy actually has two questions. Direction of this softball team with pitchers struggling the last couple of years, and then the Cowboys' final X participants, which is Friday. We'll start with softball here. They've added 3 people out of the portal so far. Most recently, Wisconsin utility player Kendra Lewis. They've also added Kennedy Proctor, a catcher from Utah, and then Madison Hartley, who is a bit of a two-way player. And Lewis, that first the Wisconsin transfer I mentioned, has also pitched a little bit. I don't think that either of these girls are going to be the answer to the pitching staff. That's the big question mark surrounding Oklahoma State softball right now. You lose Ruby Malin. I believe Riley Crandall also finish out her eligibility. Presley Downing, the freshman that was sort of their third arm, she's now gone. So the pitching staff is going to be entirely different next year. How Oklahoma State fills that position is really going to determine a lot in terms of how next season goes. I think these have been pretty good pickups so far. Lewis was an All-American as a freshman, which is obviously really impressive. Kennedy Proctor has hit 20 home runs through her first 2 years of softball. And then Hatley had a pretty big home run tally as well. And all 3 of these girls just finished their sophomore season. So could be multi-year thing. So I think the direction of the softball team will, in a lot of ways, I think, depend on what comes out of the portal in terms of pitching. You guys have any softball takes other than that, or do you want to move pretty quickly?
Yeah, I almost didn't understand the question because I guess the softball pitchers were struggling the last couple of years. I
think
feel
outside
like Ruby
of
Malin was
outside of Ruby Malin, I think is probably what he meant to say.
Yeah, there's been a big developmental issue right outside of Ruby, and we've seen that. I think that's kind of what he's getting at.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there's probably ebbs and flows to it. You can probably rely on Ruby Malin with that top 10 talent arm, and maybe you don't need to explore or develop other pitchers because you're so reliant on that. You kind of focus on other areas. So if Ruby's gone, how does that change? I mean, we'll just see how it develops, but yeah.
Yeah, historically they've reloaded pretty quickly, so I imagine they'll go get another big name. But in college softball, you need a stud pitcher. As for Final X, I wrote a little bit of a preview today. That's on the website. We're recording this on Wednesday, I think is what today is. Final X is Friday. Sort of happens during the day, which is a little odd for people who have normal jobs. I'm loving it. I'm watching wrestling in the middle of the day, but so Jax Forrest is going to wrestle Penn State's Marcus Blaze. This is a match that people have been wanting for a while. We're going to get it at least twice. It's a best of 3 series. They haven't wrestled since I think the 2024 Olympic trials was the last time they wrestled. Blaze won that match, but Forrest wins the NCAA title this year. Blaze then wins the U.S. Open. That was the one that Forrest lost in the semis to Ben DeVino. Forrest goes back and beats Ben DeVino in the World Team Trials. So this is going to be a big match in the wrestling world. There's a lot of people really excited about this one. Wyatt Hendrickson also wrestles Mason Paris. Paris is a former World Team member, a former NCAA champ at Michigan in 2023. These two dudes are like they're sort of similar in that they like scoring points. They've their last 2 matches have both ended in techs. One guy won one guy won the other. So I'd expect fireworks. That's another best of 3 series. Zahid Valencia didn't wrestle at Oklahoma State, but it's sort of the star member of the Cowboy RTC. Is wrestling Kyle Dake in a best of 3 series. Dake, if you'll remember, was the Cornell guy who won an NCAA title at 4 different weights. They wrestled last year at Final X. He beat him two matches to none. So that'd be the hope again. Landon Robidoux is going to wrestle Caleb Henson, who's an NCAA champ at 149 pounds. They're going to wrestle in a true third match, and Dustin Plott's going to wrestle Seth Shoemate, who's going to start at Ohio State this year, I think. So, a lot of Cowboys going to be wrestling on Friday. Really looking forward to it. That Jax Force match in particular has got me and a lot of the wrestling world really excited. You guys have any takes on wrestling, or should we keep going?
I just forgot completely that Valencia had beaten Dake twice already, because I just thought like Dake is undefeated and crazy and nobody can beat him kind of thing. But that's interesting. And then seeing Kyle Dake's name again, I'm just like, I don't know, David Taylor, you want to make a little room? I don't know staff what that looks like, but golly, we're just blessed right now. This is some really good wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. This is sort of up weight for Dake. He's I think won 4 world championships, but they've all been at lower weights. He's up at 86 kilos now and has been was last year as well. So, but I think he's sort of in between Olympic weights, and he knows that if he's gonna make this next Olympics, which is in the United States, I sort of think he knows that it's gonna have to be up rather than down. So, I think that's where he's leaning. New York Cowboys, the next, or NY Cowboy, I'd assume New York. I guess I've never really gotten to the bottom of that. But NY Cowboy says, what sport are y'all, maybe not with a y'all, what sport are each of y'all excited to watch this year, regardless of Oklahoma State's performance in it? I think football is sort of the obvious answer with all the newness that comes around.
Yeah.
But, I'm also really excited about everything that David Taylor's got going on the wrestling mat. And then I'm always a sucker for Cowboy basketball. So
sure.
That's sort of where I'm hanging around. But I think if I had to pick one going into it, and it sounds like the cop-out answer, but it's got to be football. This is unprecedented times that we're living through. For the first time in 20 years, Oklahoma State's entering a season without Mike Gundy as a football coach. So that's sort of where I'm leaning. What about you guys?
Yeah, same top 3: football, wrestling, basketball in that order. Easy answer. I don't know.
Yeah, football is the easy one, and people just got that. We just got done railing. I'm excited to see how this baseball team plays next year. I like a lot of what's coming back. Obviously, got a lot of good freshmen there. I mean, wrestling, are we going to push Penn State next season? Question mark. And basketball, I do think this is a do or die season for Steve Lutz. I think, I don't know if he'd get fired, but it would put him firmly on the hot seat if they were not to make the tournament and do something. Year 3, most NIL, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Hard to pick one outside of football because we talked about earlier, obviously I'm a sucker for football, but man, we saw the prominence that football brought to the university. I was not prepared for how it would make me feel about everything else when football is down. So I need football to be good again.
I could not imagine how gross these last 2 years would have been had David Taylor not existed. Really thank goodness to David Taylor in that aspect.
Great call. Yeah.
Because he gave us Wyatt Hendrickson. The Wyatt Hendrickson moment and the Jax Forrest moment are like the two biggest moments that even like, I think maybe the biggest Jax moment this year was him running out for Bedlam. I think that was maybe like he won a national championship as a true freshman and sort of slaughtered everybody on the way. But just that pop that he got whenever Funky Town hit running into Bedlam was electric. We shall continue. Spruce asks, after 2 seasons of play in the current lineup of the Big 12, what are your thoughts on scheduling? Barring a shakeup with more realignment, do you think it should continue divisionless? I sort of like this question because I love maps. I think that the Big 12 could do a pod system, could split into maybe like an East-West division. You're not going to do North-South with how elongated the Big 12 is from, Utah. I don't know what's the furthest west, Utah, and West Virginia and Central Florida. So, but I don't know. I think an East-West could work. It gets a little dicey because I think most of it is more west than east. I think if you're West Virginia and UCF, you're probably feeling like what the heck, anyways. I guess Cincinnati's out there a little bit too. Maybe they're in a pod with Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State in a pod with Colorado. Is probably going to be out west too. So I don't know. I think there's a pod system you can make. It wouldn't make scheduling. If you're in, for example, the Texas pod, if Texas Tech has to play Baylor, TCU, whoever else, Houston every year, those teams are going to feel a little more hard done that they have to constantly play this team that's spending all this money, I think. But I personally sort of like a pod system. I like sort of natural rivals forming. I personally, who has to go to all these games, like not having to, the travel schedule this year is crazy. For example, there's a lot of games that are really far out. So sort of cut down on those and to know that you'd at least have a couple of close away games every year. I think that would be cool, but I don't think it will happen because of the sort of the scheduling matrix of it all and trying to keep things even and fair. But what do you guys think about divisions, pods, just the scheduling in general in the Big 12?
I think people make it way more difficult than it needs to be. Again, I go back. The NFL has this figured out and people refuse to copy it. And I don't understand. Like the old North-South in the Big 12 was phenomenal. Like I thought it was amazing. You need common opponents every single year, no matter what, to build rivalry. Like this thing where you go around and like, well, this year I'll play you twice, and this year I'll play you once, and this year, like, I hate it. I think either you split it into divisions or you do pods or something, but the more regionality that you can get into scheduling and the more consistency, I think is what you have to have in order to build a sport. And I don't understand why we make it so difficult.
Couldn't have said it better. I mean, make college football regional again. I don't know. Like that's simplest explanation for it. I don't know. I hate the idea that we are skipping years where we're not going to play Baylor this year. We're not going to play Texas Tech this year. They're like right down the road. What are we doing? And we got to go all the way out to UCF, and we got to go all the way out to Utah and BYU, all the way out to West Virginia, whatever the case is. And it's like, yeah, we need to find a way that we can lock in at least 5 to 6 of those games regionally and then do like a rotating thing from there on out. Like, I don't want to play, and we're not playing them every year, but we don't need to see, UCF or UCF or Cincinnati, every year, every other year necessarily. It's like, maybe we can do like some kind of a rotating 4-year type of schedule. I don't know, whatever.
This is a sort of off top. This is going to get us off track a little bit, so I'll go quick. But in the college football game, you can move conferences as you please. I get pretty deep in dynasty mode. So what I did in my most recent one was, so the American Conference I had as sort of the top dog of the Group of 5 conferences. It was Group of 5 because I sort of brought the Pac-12 back a little bit. Anyways, so the Sun Belt, the MAC, Conference USA, and which one am I forgetting? Mountain West. All of those champions go into the American. And then every team that's in the American has a home base conference that's like regional to them. And so then the bottom 4 teams of the American then get relegated back to, if it was Ohio, for example, they go back to the MAC. So I sort of thought that was cool because it sort of puts stakes on every American game that gets played because you don't want to get relegated. And then it sort of gives the group of 5 teams, all the best group of 5 teams. Obviously it's sort of season to season and recruiting and sort of how does that work? But all the group of 5 programs are in one spot playing in the American. So I sort of, you mentioned make college football regional again. That's sort of what I did. That got us way off topic. But speaking of,
the only thing that stinks about the relegation system is like, you got a quarterback that just absolutely blows it up, and then they're not there for the next year, and the future team gets to benefit from their success. And it's like they're not deserving to be there because this guy's not even part of that team anymore. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
I justified it in my head by hypothetically it would, I think the Americans TV money would be bigger. So hypothetically speaking, say you produce this stud quarterback that gets you from the MAC into the American, you sort of deserve to have that pot now that, that quarterback's probably left you and is playing at Ohio State or something. Speaking of conferences, R11 asks, when are Oklahoma State joining a Power 2 conference, and why will it not be the SEC? I put this in the chamber a couple of weeks ago, sort of if you had to pick Oklahoma State joining the Big 10 or the SEC or staying in the Big 12, what would you? I sort of just think regionally, Oklahoma State feels more SEC than it does Big 10. I think Oklahoma State's Big 12 to the core. I like the Big 12. I understand the money is not the same, so I totally get that. But I sort of think that Oklahoma State culturally fits more SEC rather than Big 10 in terms of when is Oklahoma State going to join a power. Let's win a conference game maybe before we get to that point. But definitely got to. It feels like the musical chairs are shuffling. The Sorsby thing. How long is it going to really take before a Super League actually launches? And Oklahoma State needs to be in a good spot, both financially and on the football field, when that happens. But sort of, what do you guys think? I think SEC over Big 10, just because I think it just sort of fits better. But I'm good with either.
Yeah, it does. It makes more sense regionally. And if we are going to go to a Power 2 and have it look more like the NFL model that Nathan's referring to, hey, those teams play each other in that same division twice a year. So get ready to play OU twice a year if we're going to shift to that model. That's all I'll say.
SEC definitely fits for sure. We talked about this a little bit. Like, I still cannot wrap my mind around the idea that schools like Vanderbilt and Mississippi State have double the resources that Oklahoma State does, purely because they're in a different conference. Like, and they're getting pulled along by the TV contract. It just blows my mind. So, but I do think the SEC probably fits a little bit better. The Big 10 has gotten a little outrageous with USC and whoever else is throwing there. Cal, I think. No, Cal's in the ACC.
That makes less sense, yeah.
Oregon. I think Oregon's in the Big 10. Is that right? So anyways, wherever the money goes is where we need to go. But I do think the SEC fits better. To your point, Justin, fans would be able to drive to most of the games, which matters. Believe it or not, that matters. And I don't know when. And as an Oklahoma State fan, we should pray that it's sooner rather than later, because if it's later, we're getting left out. Just being honest, because there is 2 super leagues right now, and we're not a part of either of them. And the discrepancy between resources is outrageous, and it's more outrageous than 99% of people know at all levels. So we need to pray. I hate saying this because I think the government screws up everything. Don't want to get into politics, but the government needs to step in or we will get left out. I just don't know. I don't know another way around it, honestly.
All right, we'll sort of with the computer update and my story about college football video games. We're sort of we're going to pick up the pace here a little bit. OC Wildman asks, what level of success do you see for the women's basketball team, and how well do you see Audie Crooks fitting into Coach Hoyt's run and gun system? This is something that JC was asked in that media availability we had. Sort of Audie fitting. Obviously Audie is going to have to get up and down the floor in JC system. Coach Hoyt mentioned, she wanted to be a part of this system. So, I think, and she also mentioned there are going to be tweaks. There's tweaks every year, but Oklahoma State is still going to do what Oklahoma State does. So, I think I have sky high expectations for this basketball team just based on, what looks like the money spent on it and all the good players that they've got. And I think this is, outside of Riley, maybe like the most excitement that anybody's had for an Oklahoma State women's basketball season, at this point in the summer, probably ever. So you guys have any quick takes on women's basketball, and we'll keep moving.
Yeah, I just think you play to the strengths, right? So we've got strengths in a lot of different areas now than we just had one strength. So, you know, she can't be out there all the time. So when she's not there, you go hyper speed. And then whenever she is out there, you play to her strengths as well. So I feel like it's just going to be a dynamic team that we're going to see, and it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I just think good coaches find ways to put their best players in position to succeed, whatever that looks like for her. Like you said, Justin, I think it probably makes them multiple. When she's off the floor, maybe you're able to do something different. When she's on the floor, you can slow it down and do different things. And yeah, she's going to need to adjust a little bit. But I think if Coach Hoyt is a good basketball coach, like I think she is, you find ways to put her in a position to succeed rather than trying to make her fit to your system.
Right.
And then last one here, Sherlock Holmes, who also asked sort of a Monty Python Holy Grail question. I don't know if you guys saw that one or not, but so this one is not related to Monty Python, but you're bringing someone who's never been to Stillwater before in for a game. Do you take them to Joe's, Hideaway, or somewhere else? Anytime I get this question, whether it's like a reporter coming in and he's like, hey, where should I eat tonight? I always say like, you should do Joe's. Like, and I always try to, because I think some people overhype Joe's, and I love Joe's. I love going to Joe's, but I think sometimes it gets crushed by the fact that people hype it up so much. So I say like the atmosphere is really good. The cheese fries are a hallmark. Like you should go to Joe's. You should experience that. But I try not to like make it sound like you've got to go to Joe's. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to anybody. But I love going to Joe's, but I like to keep the expectations a little tampered. But yeah, whenever somebody's first in Stillwater, I'm like, you should go experience the atmosphere and go do Joe's. That's the classic thing. And whenever I go to different places, I sort of like going to the spot that it's sort of known for. Anytime Oklahoma State basketball's playing, they're saying, oh, they're gonna love this in Eskimo Joe's or whatever. So that's always where I tell people to go first. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's kind of like you ask them what their preference is. You want to go to a place with burgers and cheese fries, or you want to go to a place with phenomenal pizza? And based off that answer, you can tell them Joe's or Hideaway. And then you can also do both. There's before the game, you got after the game. You got like good barbecue spots in Stillwater. So there's a lot of good options that you could refer them to. And it's just like, I don't know, kind of based on the preference of the person that's coming. But hey, man, welcome to Stillwater. Glad you're here.
I do think I completely agree with you about Joe's. It is more of the experience than just be like, this is the best burger I've ever had. It's a good burger, but it's not, I don't want to diminish. I would definitely go. For pure food purposes, I am a pizza connoisseur, and I would probably tend to go that direction. But if you stop into Stillwater and you don't leave with at least 8 Eskimo Joe's cups, the finest plastic china known to man, then you're missing out. Because you can, I don't know, I'm sure you guys same way. In college, I could eat breakfast, I could eat dinner, I could, play, some Pong in there. It held everything. It's the best cups ever. We just recently got some more in my own cabinet because that is my drinking choice of whatever beverage I'm going to be partaking in is better in an Eskimo Joe's cup.
That's funny.
That's
I don't
just
know
the way
if
it is.
maybe this is unique to me, but I feel like whenever I was in Stillwater in college, I knew Eskimo Joe's is right there. Hideaway is right there, but I rarely frequented those places because I'm one broke college kid.
El Tapatio.
El Tapatio. But it was like ever since I left, I'm like, I got to get back. We got to get to Stillwater. Even if there's not a game, let's just go eat at Joe's.
So that's the problem. Go ahead, Marshall.
Oh, I was going to say Joe's is the cup of choice in the Scott household as well. And for people who, maybe you're at a football game or a basketball game this year and Joe's and Hideaway are both crowded. There's a place in between them called Cafe 88. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. It's Asian food. That was sort of like, whenever we worked at the Ocali, the journalism building is like you walk across the field and you're at Cafe 88. That's where we ate quite a bit. Really good stuff there as well. So if you're ever like, ooh, the lines are sort of crazy, check out Cafe 88. It's right around there as well.
Yeah, so you got up a good point, and it is a problem in a town like Stillwater on game day, more specifically football game day, but really any game day. Unless you put yourself on the wait list for Eskimo Joe's, that's like a 2-hour wait list and on a limited menu. It's like you can have a foul thing, a burger, and some fries. Like those are your options for the day. Both, all three, fantastic options. But like that's it. So anytime I come in, it's usually on a game day. And Joe's in Hideaway, everybody else has thought of the same thing. So you're talking about an outrageous wait. So I actually haven't eaten at Joe's in quite some time. But like I said, for the spring game, I stopped in and got some more cups because we needed more cups, man. Like they're the best. I don't know how to. My affinity for these cups is unmatched. I've never had a better cup in my life. They're the best. I've actually looked online to see like, can you find like their supplier that just like where do you find these things? So they're the perfect size. And for my hand, it's just I don't know, man. I don't know. It just reminds me of Stillwater, and I love it.
We've turned them into lights that we
That's
string
exactly
up on
right.
our.
You see, yeah, everybody put them upside down, right?
Yeah, we were one of the first tents to do that out there tailgating, and then started seeing them pop up for some of these other tailgates. It's like, golly, this is good stuff.
Do you want to glow in the dark? Do you want a color changing? Do you want, seasonal? Would you like it just for? There's so many options, and you can't.
I love the color changing one. The color changing ones are dope.
It's the best. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, got off topic. I'd tend pizza because at least you can order that one to go. But there you go. You can order burgers to go, obviously, but I prefer a burger right there.
We need to do like a pod up at
Taste of the Town.
Joe's, yeah. Like, hey, let's go.
I like it.
So I'll meet up there. Cool. Well, hey, listeners, glad you were able to join us today. Appreciate you as always. We made it. I'm back. We've got probably another hour-long podcast because of that. So you're welcome. Exactly what you wanted for the middle of the off season. And we got some more fun stuff coming your way with the Big 12 Media Days coming up. Nathan's getting attacked by a dog, it looks like right now. So
yeah, my dog is trying to join in. She's getting a little antsy, but I would say if you guys, we've talked about this as a pod, and for this upcoming football season, we have some ideas of some things that we really want to do and accomplish as a pod. But if you guys have any ideas of things that you guys want or looking forward to, or maybe some ideas on, what you would like in a seasonal pod, let us know, because we're kind of working on a few things that we're excited about and hopefully doing for this upcoming football season. So if you guys have any suggestions, please chime in.
Very cool. And if you would also please like, share, subscribe to show your support, share this podcast with friends, family, and we will see you next time. Keep those pistols firing and remember to reload. Go Pokes.